Today in the bunker, we're going to build the convenience store from terrain crate, suitable for the Wasteland. Originally, I was going to use plastruct sheet, textured like brick, to make a building with some foam core. And then I found these kits by Terrain Crate at my friendly local game store. These are modular buildings that can be easily assembled, and they also have a bunch of very useful bits. Here's the first wall section I did. I just put it together. This is pretty much straight off the box, the way it's designed on there. And as you can see, there is a front and a back. The front, of course, has the bricks. The back has this kind of texture on it. You could make that the front, I guess, make it concrete, but your upper pieces are bricks, so maybe don't do that. These pieces that join those together, there are enough to go most of the way around. This building is kind of intended to be put together as a solid piece. We're going to modify that design a little bit so we have a removable roof. We're going to build a floor. We're going to build a roof for it. We're going to make this playable inside. And these join together with these connectors, or on some of the wall bits, there's these key pieces that sort of engage one side and then they engage the other. That's all these little square peg holes are for. Some of you may want to fill those. I suspect after it's painted and everything, we may not even notice most of that. So, one thing I will note is that there are some extra pieces in here. Like there's this main double door. There's a spare one. We're going to have spares left over because we're not going to use the roof pieces. So between this and the large kit, we may have enough left over to build some kind of bonus structure. When you assemble these, it helps to be able to lay them down flat so you can really push on these connectors. You may have to file a little bit of those to make them fit the little pegs. By and large, they go together pretty well. But and then just use, like I'm using plastruct cement, but you can use any plastic cement I think on these and they'll be pretty good. This kit also has a couple of these connectors that look like some sort of electrical box, so that'll really add something once that's painted. The main weakness to these kits, if there could be said to be one, is the connectors. There's only enough in here to build one thing, so there really aren't any spares, so try not to lose them. You can kind of fake it with some other pieces of plastic and glue them in place, but if you want to keep the actual connectors, just try not to lose them. All right, the little connectors for the sides, they kind of key into that slot. I find sometimes it's helpful to get some pliers and sort of snug them down in there, and that way you make sure they fit. There it is, all glued together. It squares up nicely, so just take your time, put that together, let whatever cement you're using have time to cure a little bit and still have some play in it. What I'm going to do is take some of these connector pieces and I'm going to cut one of the tabs off, and I'm going to put some of those around the top to hold our roof once we put it in. We're also going to make a floor, which we'll probably just hot glue on. If you really want to get down in the weeds, the tab that you cut off of those you can use to block up some of the holes in the building that may be a little excessive. So I just used some chipboard, or Wylock paper as we know it in the business, to very precisely lay in that indent for the floor. These bottom of these pieces are beveled, so I got it to lay in that space and then just filled that, not really neatly, with hot glue. And these spaces here inside, I made sure that the hot glue engaged that to help firm it up, so that'll help hold that floor on there pretty snug. And using that same technique, we've made a roof that is removable. It kind of engages that slot, but not entirely, so it's a pretty forgiving fit, really, with those tabs that sit up in there. So what we're going to do next is paint this. We're going to prime this to kind of seal it, and then we'll add some bits to make it look like an industrial roof. Same thing with the floor. We'll paint that and seal it, prime all this, and get ready to put some color on it. I primed this with a gray automotive primer, but you could use flat black, whatever. Since I'm painting up bricks, I'm going to try and keep it to where I can maybe preserve that gray in there as a mortar line. We'll see if that works. I also added a 3D printed air handler bit on there. I'll link the file to that in the description. I added some plastic tubing to those electrical gang boxes so that it, oops, on the other side, so that it looks like it's fed from underground. And there are all kinds of things, conduits and things. I could not find any of my O-scale ladder. I was going to add a ladder, so I'll probably add that later. But then once the roof comes off, you've got an interior, and we'll probably add a little bit of color to that. I don't do super detailed interiors. I just put stuff in there and kind of hope for the best. So I'm going to take some barn red craft paint. Any dark red, brownish color will work. And I'm just going to use a sponge and very gently kind of layer that up. Don't go too fast. Don't get it down in that mortar line. And just start adding that color. And then we'll go back and pick out individual bricks with brown and kind of make them look like they're scorched. After sponging on the barn red color, I went back and picked out certain bricks with like burnt umber, and then used the strong unthinned out barn red to pick out individual bricks too. I don't know if they'll show up on camera, but it gives it just kind of a randomized appearance, makes it look a little more real. The windows I painted with a very light gray. I may go back and try to make it so that they're reflective a little bit. I don't know. I'm going to add some rust here and there on these boxes. But overall, it's pretty much done. It's ready to go. I added that 3D printed air handler, gave that a burnt umber finish with some gunmetal dry brush just to give it a rusty metal look. And then there's the interior. Right now it's not much to look at, but once you put some things in there and maybe glue some pattern paper to the floor, it won't look too bad. And it's certainly good enough to game in. So. Alright, so that is our convenience store from Terrain Crate. I'm going to build some more of the the bustling metropolis, and they go together exactly the same, so we're going to modify them so that they're playable. There's a 2- or 3-story building in there. We're going to make that so it's functional. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you learned something, and I hope you have a fantastic day.